Good morning. We have a great service for you today, followed by an inspiring community conversation with our special guest, Reverend Nancy McDonald Ladd, in lieu of coffee hour. Everyone's invited to attend, and we hope to see you there. If you are new to our congregation, we would love to get to know you. Please visit our website at www.unitytemple.org and fill out a visitor form. I'll follow up with you about the many ways you can connect and engage in our community, as well as answer your questions. My name is Tina Lewis, and I serve as the Director of Membership and Engagement here at Unity Temple. You may reach me directly at tlewis@unitytemple.org. I hope to hear from you soon and hope you enjoy the morning.
Good morning. My name is Willa Schultz, and I am a member of your Board of Trustees. It is my pleasure to welcome you here this morning. We have a special treat in store for you. We have a guest minister today. Her name is Reverend Nancy McDonald Ladd. I've had a sneak preview of the sermon. I'm sure you will find it inspiring, and it will make you want to stay after the service so that we can have some community conversations about the topics that are raised in her sermon, as well as our entire Welcoming All mission. As you know, each week we like to raise up our values. Our core values are connection, transformation, justice, and acceptance. Out of these core values, we have developed a four-part mission. The mission is welcoming all, inspiring compassion, nurturing wonder, and serving community. We try to hold these values and our core mission in front of us throughout the week. I know that today you will find the service to be inspiring. I hope that you will have a wonderful week. Enjoy this winter weather. Thank you.
My name is Lennox. I'm in 5th grade. My favorite best friend is Liam, and I like the Justice League and Superman.
My name is Zaria, and I'm in the 4th grade. We invite you to light your chalice along with us. We are the Unitarian Universalists. We are the Church of the Open Minds, the Loving Hearts, and the Helping Hands. We take care of planet Earth and each other.
I invite you to breathe deeply and center down. May you bring all of who you are to this time and to our community. We are here to broaden our imaginations, to cultivate new courage, and to build the kind of community that creates resilience within us and among us. The kind of resilience that comes with being vulnerable and open to the wide range of human experience, and the wisdom that comes from companioning one another with generous hospitality through our various joys and struggles among us. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your life journey, you are welcome here. May we open our hearts, our minds, our souls as we gather for worship on this glorious day.
Please join with us in the words of our covenant.
Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God.
Please join me in singing number 1026 in the Teal hymnal, If Every Woman in the World. If every woman in the world had her mind set on freedom, if every woman in the world dreamed a sweet dream of peace, if every woman of every nation, young and old, each generation, held her hands out in the name of love, there would be no more. If every man in the world had his mind set on freedom, if every brother stood with brother as a witness for peace, if every man of every nation, young and old, each generation, held his hands out in the name of love, there would be no more. If every leader in the world shared a vision of freedom, if every leader in the world shared a sweet dream of peace, if every leader of every nation worked for justice and liberation, holding hands out in the name of love, there would be no more. If every nation in the world set a true course for freedom, if every nation raised its children in a culture of peace, if all our sons and all our daughters reached in friendship across the waters, refusing to be enemies, there would be no more. Refusing to be enemies, there would be no more.
I have a story today called What Do You Do with a Chance? It's by Kobe Yamada, and the picture's from May Bessem. One day, I got a chance. It just seemed to show up. It acted like it knew me, as if it wanted something. I didn't know why it was here. What do you do with a chance? I wondered. It fluttered around me. It brushed up against me. It circled me as if it wanted me to grab it. I started to reach for it, but I was unsure, and I pulled back. And so it flew away. I thought about it a lot. I wished I had taken my chance. I realized I had wanted it, but I still didn't know if I had the courage. When another chance came around, I wasn't so sure, but I decided to try. I went to reach for it, but I missed and fell. I was embarrassed. I felt foolish. It seemed like everyone was looking at me. I decided I never wanted to feel this way again. So, after that, whenever a chance came along, I ignored it. And the more I ignored them, the less they came around. Until one day I noticed that I hadn't seen a chance in quite a while. It was as if they had all disappeared. I started to worry. What if I don't get another chance? I know I acted like I didn't care, but the truth was, I did. I still wanted to take a chance, but I was afraid, and I wasn't sure if I would ever be brave enough. Then I thought, Maybe I don't have to be brave all the time. Maybe I just need to be brave for a little while at the right time. I realized it was up to me. I promised myself that if I ever got another chance, I wasn't going to hold back. If I got another chance, I was going to be ready. Then one seemingly ordinary day, I saw something shining far off in the distance. Is it possible? I hoped. Could this be my chance? I had to find out. I ran as hard and as fast as I could toward it. I don't know how to explain it, but the second I let go of my fears, I was full of excitement. It wasn't that I was no longer afraid, but now my excitement was bigger than my fear. As I got closer, I could see that this was a really huge chance. But this time, I was ready. As it came by, I reached out and grabbed it, and I held on with all my might. It felt so good to soar, to fly, to be free. I now see that when I hold back, I miss out, and I don't want to miss out. There's just so much I want to see and do and discover. So, what do you do with a chance? You take it. Because it just might be the start of something incredible.
My name is Jay Cohen. I'm one of your pastoral associates. This is the time in the service where we especially hold one another in our hearts and offer prayers for the people. If there's a joy or a milestone you're celebrating, we'd love to be part of that with you. If you're going through some type of struggle or concern, please know that we always want to be here with you in that as well. If you'd like for this to be mentioned in the service itself, please just let one of the ministers or the pastoral associates know in advance, and we'll get it into the service. Otherwise, feel free to go ahead right now and put it into the live chat. Paul Redman is very grateful for the support and care he's received from Jay Peterson. Paul has gone through COVID, and it's been a struggle, and right now Paul is recovering. Please remember the 17 people incarcerated at 2 immigrant detention centers, Kankakee and McHenry. They've asked for prayers for themselves, their families, and children detained and separated from families, and for fair hearings for those with upcoming court dates. They are from Albania, Cuba, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, and Uzbekistan. May the outcomes be positive for them and their families. Locally, the following people were reported killed between January 21st and January 28th. Lavanel Ann Cobbins, 47. Gino Dameron, 26. Ramon Gonzalez Borrego, 52. Daryl Houston, 39. Mondo Lee, 18. David Lopez, 34. Justin Reyes, 26. Anthony Rice, 24. Jonathan Robinson, 51. Cordero Thomas, 32. Dwight Wesley, 23. May we keep their families and others touched by violence in our thoughts and prayers. May we also pray for the perpetrators and the impact the violence has on their lives. Please know that the pastoral associates are always here for you, and you can reach out to us individually or reach out to pastoralassociates@unitytemple.org. And I always like to say that there are many, many wonderful things going on at Unity Temple and many ways to stay involved. And it's in joining these things and coming to these things that we make the relationships and the connections that get us through these times of uncertainty. So please reach out to ask for support, or please reach out to offer support And that's just one of the beautiful parts of this community. Have a good day.
Join me for a moment of prayer and meditation. We come before you, Spirit of creation, the ultimate storyteller. As a people who sometimes allow ourselves to get blocked by our own stories, or allow the stories of other people to dominate our lives. We come as people who sometimes find it easier to imagine the status quo, or to reminisce of what used to be, rather than to do the work of envisioning a new reality. May we repent the harm, the hurt, and the damage we do when we fail to use our imaginations, when we fail to include all people's imaginations. May we lament the missed opportunities, the failed inclusion of every voice. May we lament our lack of imagination. Let us hold the harm we have caused. Let us own it. Let us own it that we might atone for it. May the cry of lament be the song that stimulates our imagination. May our cry of lament be transformed into a call that radically welcomes all to imagine, to collaborate at the welcome table of Unity Temple and in the Unitarian Universalist world. May it be so. Blessed be.
We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing on. Every rung goes higher, higher. Every rung goes higher, higher. Every rung goes higher, higher. We are climbing on.
My name is Chuck Ruth. My partner of over 41 years, Jean, and I have attended Unity Temple since 1987, with a brief hiatus spanning 1992 to 2009. My background hasn't prepared me well for the projects I've undertaken in the years surrounding retirement. I grew up in Hinsdale, lived in Elmhurst for 37 years, and worked for the German company Bosch for over 30 years. My background is all about conservative environments, lack of diversity, and privilege. The epicenter of privilege: white, male, heterosexual, able-bodied and able-minded, well-educated, and financially comfortable. More through grace than planning, I've been developing the capacities I need for my new projects. First step, I began facilitating Soul Connections groups in 2014. Here is where I learned to listen, really listen to others. A great foundation for the work to come. Second step, in 2015, Jean and I began facilitating the ION's Conscious Aging curriculum. The focus on aging got me thinking about age discrimination, which I experienced so openly and personally when I was let go from Bosch in 2016 and in the subsequent unsuccessful job search. The blessing in this is that I can really feel empathy for those who suffer discrimination. Third step, in 2018 and 19, I participated in Beloved Conversations. A group step forward, step back exercise consisted of 44 statements, one of which was, if your skin color is white, take 3 steps forward. And if your skin color is black, take 2 steps back. By the end, I was near the front of the group, and I realized for the first time how privileged I really was. I realized I was lucky to be a white male born into privilege who could, for example, flunk out of Knox College and feel no repercussions whatever. I've taken too much credit for whatever success I've achieved. I also realize that the life outcomes for others may be shaped by their non-white skin color and or being born into poverty. I've been too judgmental towards others, not accounting for the struggles against racist policies that put up obstacles. Fourth step, in 2019, I joined the Welcoming All team, whose charter is to activate our Welcoming All mission, to create a culture of radical hospitality and encourage relationships with people across boundaries of race, class, and other identities that divide us, such as sexuality and gender expression, ability, age, political beliefs, religious beliefs, educational background, and wealth. Doing the work, I remembered one cringeworthy example of how easy it is to be unwelcoming. 20 years ago, I took a group of UU middle schoolers to an African Methodist Episcopal Church service and wrote the pastor a thank you letter, intending it to be very complimentary. I noted that while I expected the music to be inspiring, I was unexpectedly delighted by the sermon. Only now have I realized how unattractive and hurtful the assumptions were in that letter. Those are what we would call a microaggression in Beloved Conversation. So my journey of learning how to listen, feel empathy for those suffering discrimination, realize my privilege and my microaggressions, well, the ones I'm aware of anyway, motivates me to do Welcoming All work. Please join with me and take your own Welcoming All journey. You may not always enjoy it, but you're certain to grow in ways you can't even imagine. Today we're fortunate to have the Reverend Nancy McDonald Ladd preach to us. Immediately following the service, in lieu of coffee hour, a 90-minute guided discussion processing the themes in Reverend Ladd's message and intended to help us live into our mission of welcoming all will be led by Reverend Ladd, Reverend Taylor, Andy Heisinger, Tina Lewis, and the Welcoming All team and facilitators. We ask you to attend this significant congregational event by clicking on the link in Friday's e-beacon. I close by quoting the Vietnamese Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh, who wrote, "If we are on the 5th rung and think that we are very high, there is no hope for us to step up to the 6th. The Welcoming All initiative seeks to nudge each of us to the next rungs that we may not even know exist, so that folks will experience our congregation at a higher level of welcoming. May it be so."
Ooh. Hello, friends. It is such a gift to be here with you. I'm, of course, Reverend Nancy McDonald Ladd. I'm a alumnus of Meadville Lombard Theological School and a longtime admirer of your congregation and collaborator with your ministers. So what a delight through technology and the connections and relationships that we've built to be together today. When I'm invited to preach these days about imagination and its power, I cannot help but remember that I, in fact, live in Maryland, about a mile from the Washington, D.C. border. In fact, I live just up the road from a little neighborhood pizza joint, tucked up right next to a bookstore, across the street from a gorgeous little bakery. I live in a beautiful and cultured sort of place. The kind of neighborhood frequented by a well-off and diverse cross-section of the urban dwellers right here in our nation's capital. And back in the pre-COVID days, you know, the before times, my family, we used to go to that little pizza joint in that perfect little neighborhood on Saturday nights to drink artsy-fartsy microbrews and fight about pizza toppings and play ping pong with our friends. And 4 years ago, in the fall of 2016, in that very place, a 28-year-old man from out of state who had never been to Washington, D.C., nor ever visited my neighborhood pizza joint, he bust right through the front door of that very same restaurant with an AR-15 assault rifle in his hand, demanding to know where the kidnapped children were being kept, because in his mind, he was there to self-investigate a vast and shadowed conspiracy involving child trafficking, Hillary Clinton, and the entire Democratic Party. Now, at the time, most of us who live in the area, we thought this guy was just an incredibly dangerous and delusional individual person. For at least a couple days, that's what we thought, and that was bad enough to be caught in the imaginative construct of a deranged mind. But the truth, it turned out, was actually much worse. As you can probably predict, in a story you in fact might already know, of course, it wasn't just that one man's wild imaginings that caught us up in fear that day right here in our nation's capital. In point of fact, his story was just one part of a much larger story. And right there with a gun drawn in 2016 at my local pizza joint, right there, it was the opening and very public salvo of what would become the QAnon conspiracy movement. A conspiracy movement which is, of course, an unnervingly widespread collective act of imagination that almost made lies real, based solely on racism, anti-Semitism, and the fact that people believed it. The collective imagination of one group of people in this nation led those folks down a path that aimed automatic weapons at families exactly like mine. And as I retell that story, I am reminded, in this time when we preach of imagination, I am reminded of just how powerful imagination really is. Power, any community organizer will tell you, power is, of course, neither inherently good nor bad. It simply is. And the power of imagination can be harnessed to any number of ends, depending on just who it is that is doing the imagining. Perhaps it does bear stating that those very same Imagineers of a destructive worldview roared right back into my city 4 years after that opening salvo, the storming of the Capitol just earlier this month. It came what felt for us in DC like a mere few breathless moments before the casting of another vision on those very same Capitol steps, when a new president rose to speak of unity, encouraging a nation to create a way forward that could offer something other than division, death, and an endless litany of our continued collective sorrows. And it must be said that even that vision of unity That dream of a fundamentally benevolent and decent nation bent on bringing out the best in us and shining like a beacon of a democratic dream, even that is in and of itself an imaginative exercise. Because that union is not true yet. That bright and high vaunted vision of unity, we are not living in that reality, yet at most we can project a vision as an imaginative construct to which we can work toward. Liberty and justice for all in this country is a story about who it is we want to be, about what we wish we could be, and yet are far, far away from fully creating. It is a story of America, as Langston Hughes once said, that never was and yet shall be. And so right now, in this country, right now, story faces off against story in an imaginative battle for the soul of this nation. What never was and yet shall be, meeting head on head to the conspiratorial devastation that never could have gained traction if it were not fed by the biggest lies in the halls of power. Story against story. One imaginative construct of this nation against another, vying always for control of the narrative, using every tool and trick in the bag to get the upper hand. Imagination is perhaps the most powerful tool of all for building a collective future. And the great activist and theologian Adrienne Maree Brown has written that all of us are always engaged in imaginative battles. We are engaged in imaginative battles, she said, when we choose to live out our own truths and go against those concepts that have been handed to us over the generations that came before. All of us are engaged in imaginative battles when we choose to live out the forming edge of some new truth instead of receiving the unexamined, received truths of the culture all around us. And working with this collective of Black leaders, creative organizers, artists, Adrienne Maree Brown has come to see that the world we live in right now is in fact someone else's imagination. If imagination is indeed so powerful it can shape reality, then we who imagine can dream new worlds. And if we can dream new worlds, then whose world is it we are living in right now? Who imagined this moment as it is? Whose dream have we collectively realized so far? And in this way, whose imagination has so far been allowed to shape the reality we are passing on to our children? We are living right now inside someone else's imagination, Brown writes. Someone else's imagination that told us white is superior, men are superior, able bodies are superior, being straight is superior. We are in imagination battles when we choose to live our own truths that go against these concepts. And we are already imagining the future into existence where every choice we make is about being our whole unbridled, unfettered, and post-oppressed selves. In this way, nothing at all is off limits. The battle to birth ideas into reality is being waged always, every day, every moment. And the question is not now and never has been as simple as whose idea is better and whose is worse. It's much deeper than that. It's really a question of whose imagination is allowed to create the future. And what forces conspire to shine a light on the imaginative power of only a very narrowly banded few, while the creativity, innovation, wonder, and beauty of the collective and diverse whole remains all the more anemic for it. Now is not a time in our nation or in our congregations for narrowly banded imaginative worlds created by a narrowly banded subsection of the people. The stakes are much too high. Whose imagination are you living inside of right now, Unity Temple? Whose imaginative worldview created your congregation as it exists this Sunday morning? whose imagination will create your shared future. And I know that just a few years ago, your Daring to Dream initiative, it harnessed something, gathered together the stories and the hopes and no doubt the anxieties of the people to create a mission that you now work and worship alongside. And even now, you are asking what it means to welcome all. You are digging into the ways in which your culture as a congregation serves your mission and lets that mission transform you. Now you have to ask, not only what it takes to welcome all, but who exactly is doing the welcoming in the first place? If this welcome table is opened up fully so that all might come, who exactly is the host of this dinner party? And who's picking the flatware? And who chose the menu? And who folded the napkins? Whose table are you welcoming us all to? And how willing are we to create a whole new table in which no one narrowly banded set of us gets to be the host, while the whole wide set of creation is the visitor and the guest just passing through outside the center of the circle, able to receive, but not to create the feast that is set before us? Who gets to be the creator of the reality we are all going to live in? Congregationally, communally, nationally, whose imagination gets to create the world in its own image? It is a question that neither I nor any preacher can answer in the abstract. It is a prophetic path we can only move forward on together. And one of the most formative theologians in my own faith life, one of the people who goes alongside me as a part of the cloud of witnesses every day, is Walter Brueggemann, whose amazing seminal text, The Prophetic Imagination, has shaped me in more ways than I can count. And in that book, Brueggemann writes that prophets exist for one thing only: to create an alternative possibility to the dominant culture around us. Prophets exist to create an alternative way. Like artists of a new reality, prophets engage in the work of futuring, of dreaming up new worlds. In his words, thus every totalitarian regime is frightened of the artist. It is the vocation of the prophet to keep alive the ministry of imagination, to keep on conjuring and proposing futures alternative to the single one the king on his throne wants to urge as the only thinkable one. And so the work of a prophetic congregation such as yours, such as mine, of a prophetic faith such as this faith we share together, the work that we share is nothing more and nothing less than to conjure alternate realities. And in order to do that, so many voices and perspectives and stories must participate in that shared conjuring, enough to meet the imaginative battles of our day with robust engagement, unafraid to tell a story not only of who we are right now, but of who we might yet be together. And Lord, we do need that alternative story, that prophetic imagination, because the imaginative battle, it is still being waged all around us, even now, even this month. Even once again in my own backyard in this nation's capital, because you see, it turns out that just over a week ago, on the night of the inauguration, right here, a mile from my front door, when 20,000 troops secured the city and made it impossible for the insurrectionist mob to once again make it through the blockade of the Capitol steps, a group of those very same insurrectionists made their way once again to my neighborhood pizza joint just over a week ago. They stood out in the streets on Connecticut Avenue, yelling that Q had sent them and shouting about what had been stolen, demanding that the children in the basement that does not even exist in that pizza joint should be freed, chanting the same chants they have been chanting over and over again until the owners of that establishment, Comet Ping Pong and Pizza, the place I love to go, they opened up their doors to the street. and they started blasting Connecticut Avenue with music. Specifically, what they were blasting was Lady Gaga's 2011 mega hit, Born This Way. And I'm not going to sing because no one needs that mess, but you know it. Don't hide yourself in regret. Just love yourself and you're all set. I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way. They blasted it full volume into the street, and there it was. An anthem that rings out in every drag bar and techno club in the world, where all the sparkled, spangled, queer, fabulous, wild, and unbroken little monsters shouted out as a hymn of LGBTQ equality and inclusion. In the imaginative world of that song, everyone is free to love who they love and live in their shame-free bodies, celebrating difference as power and uniqueness as beauty and art as liberation. In the imaginative reality of that song, the artists, the people, are all collectively conjuring a multiracial, non-binary American reality that never was and yet shall be. Something that had not yet fully come to pass, but that lives on in the hearts of the people, in the beat of the music, in the moment that they share. And so just over a week ago, the pizza place up the street blasted that imaginative reality of diversity and inclusion and power out into the street, coming face to face with the imaginative reality that the QAnon protesters had brought with them once again from out of town. Story faced off against story, just like it always does. What never was and yet shall be met head on with what never could have gained traction if it were not fed by the king himself on his throne. And just like that, when Lady Gaga blasted out into the street and the beat thumped like the city's heartbeat, the QAnon protesters silently dispersed into the night, leaving only a cloud of pulsating fabulosity sounding out into the night air behind them. And right there, in my neighborhood, between the combined power of an increasingly diverse nation and the networked fear and alienation of thousands of people on the internet, the battle was waged right there. And on that night, the imaginations of the one at the margins, of the ones who shine against all odds, the ones who will not give up on a dream of a different world. On that night, the imagination of the multicultural, queer, diverse dreamers among us carried the moment and took the prize. On that night, the imaginative battle was won not by the powers and principalities, by the kings of every nation. The imaginative battle was won by those who are willing to conjure up a whole new way. May we make our way forward willing and able to be prophets of new realities. May we always ask whose imagination we are living in. And may we expand it moment by moment, choice by choice, to include one more, so that all the people who follow us will truly know that what we dreamed is theirs to do when we includes us all. And the dream is a world we all conjure together. May it be so. It's great to be with you. And amen.
Each week we give our Sunday collection to an organization that aligns with our Unitarian Universalist values. This Sunday, our collection will benefit Sarah's Inn. Sarah's Inn provides comprehensive services for families affected by domestic violence so that they get the support they need to find safety, rebuild their lives, and heal from the trauma that they have experienced. Sarah's Inn also offers crisis intervention, community education, and violence prevention programs for youth. You may give online at sarahsinn.org/donate, Send a check to Unity Temple with Sarah's in the memo line, or give by text by scanning the QR code with the camera of a cell phone and following the instructions. May what you give bring you joy.
Please join me in singing number 212 in the Gray Hymnal, We Are Dancing Sarah's Circle. 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 Sisters, brothers, all. Here we seek and find our history. Here we seek and find our history. Here we seek and find our history. Sisters, brothers, all. We will all do our own naming. We will all do our own naming. We will all do our own naming. Sisters, brothers, all. Every round a generation, every round a generation, every round a generation, sisters, brothers, all. On and on the circles moving, on and on the circles moving, on and on the circles moving, sisters, brothers, all. Sisters, brothers, all.
Here in our congregation that calls Unity Temple home, we have the opportunity to reflect on whose imaginations have created the culture we live in here and now, both among us in our congregation and in our various neighborhoods. Come join Reverend Ladd, me, and our Welcoming All team following the service for our Zoom gathering and collective reflection. May we all turn our hearts to the source of our love and become more open and vulnerable to the deep longing, the pain, and the resilience that is in each one of us, so that we may together journey even deeper into the work of dismantling white supremacy and celebrating the vast range of cultures and identities of the human family. For this journey is the ultimate human journey of creating a community where all are truly welcome and embraced. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen.